Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by... Have we got... Refracted? Yes, we have. Refracted Curvature, Eli, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Let the massacre continue.
Hello, hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello, good to have you. Before we do housekeeping, just a quick request from the live stream chat. So I've cranked up the output levels of this show now, so hopefully we're a bit closer to what is typically the normal volume without you having to turn up your iPad or whatever you're listening to this on. So if this is distorting in any way, please let me know, as I'm hoping to retain this overall volume level from now on if it doesn't distort or overload when I yell. So, woohoo! Flat Earth Debate! Please share the show! Hopefully that didn't overload. Anyway, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Black swamp.
The Earth can't be curving. We need the angles to prove it's a sphere.
Shout out to the guys on Bev Try Thinking to bendizontal, my friends. I'll raise a glass to it. Bendizontal. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Is this thing on?
No,
You're going to need a
fun.
flat plane in order to get the radio.
It's kind of funny that my newest grandchild has one of them, like, not the walker things, the things that you sit in and they're stationary, but they have all the little toys on them. And sure enough, there's a globe on the axis and all this other nonsense stuff.
A mobile.
Yeah. Well, it's on like the toy. You sit them in there, and they got all the toys there, and it's got like a little globe on its axis. And I was like, you see, look how you indoctrinate your child right from Jump Street. Not even 10 months old.
Who are you talking about?
My grandson. My daughter had him over for my son's birthday on Saturday, but he has one of them little plate things with the axial rotation globe on its axis.
To be fair, that is basically your job as a grandfather, isn't it? To interfere, stick your nose in, tell her what she should be doing the way you would do it, and then, have all the joy from the kids and hand them back at the end. Perfect.
That's true. That's true. That's why grandkids love their grandparents, because they give them another view of the real view of life, right?
Right. Well, the grandparent says, you're not giving them loads of sweets, are you? I mean, they are porking out a little bit. Do you think you're giving them a few too many sweets? Hello, kids. Have some candy.
Yeah. No, but this is a daughter that she's like, she knows. She's smart. She knows. She's like, Dad, it's just a toy. I said, it's an indoctrination tool.
Is this the granddaughter that said it was just a toy?
My daughter.
I thought the 10-month-old was doing well.
From previous marriage. Well, not marriage, but...
So not the 10-month-old said it's just a toy then?
No, the mother, my daughter.
Oh, okay. I wasn't
My
clear.
grandson I'm talking about. Come on, get it together. Am I speaking French?
Oui.
Did I just say my granddaughter? I meant my grandson.
Okay. It's always good to not misgender your own flesh and blood. But there we go, Neil. To each his own. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Hello.
What is the sun?
Hello, it's
Hey,
over
Owen.
there.
How's it going?
Good. The sun is right over there. It's beautiful and shining, and I got an angle, and that's about it.
You got an angle? Did it come in the
But
post?
what is it?
I don't know, but we can see it, and it has an angle, and that's it.
According to the ballers, it's a solid gas.
A solid gas with a fixed distance.
A solid, a solid gas droplet.
It is a second law of thermodynamics violation in and of itself. The sun, in their rhetoric, it's amazing. It violates it in more than one way too. Go back to any of the QE presentations on the sun, and you'll see how their descriptions violate the second law. Not only it being a collapsing in upon itself through gravitation gas, imploding upon itself, supernovas, all those sorts of things. You've also got second law of thermodynamics violations that are bizarre, like it increasing its heat output as you get further away from it. In other words, it's akin to, this bonfire's a bit hot, I better step back a couple of feet. Oh my God, I'm on fire! It's so much hotter back here. That's the kind of thing they got going on with the sun in their model. But meanwhile,
And you know what's even more interesting is when they talk about supernovas, how basically the gas that is an exploding gas in the sun, right? It's kept to there through the gravity, but then it becomes old, and then like some more chemical reaction and fusion happening or something, and then it explodes somehow, and the
not
rest
quite.
is then shot back, and that turns into a black hole. But
No,
it was
no, stop.
exploding
This is
all
killing
this
me.
time.
This is killing me. You're
No, but
butchering
listen,
the... Stop. Beautiful heliocentric stories that you're butchering. How dare you?
I'm not.
Right, the
What
whole
do you mean
fusion...
butchering?
The whole fusion process is constant, right? So you've got heavier and heavier metals being formed by fusion reaction in the sun or any star. Now, depending on how fast that process takes place, will dictate the length of the star. At some point, it will implode upon itself and then explode. Now, all of the matter in the known existence is claimed to be distributed throughout the known universe by this process. So gold, for example, is formed in the heart of a dying star. And then upon it exploding, it's then permeating its way throughout the whole of the galaxy. And then eventually, colliding with something. Hence, they come up with these stories like saying that you can mine an asteroid because it's got all these precious metals in it. That story spans back to the idea of an exploding star with all the heavy metals being formed in its heart as the fusion takes place layer upon layer upon layer and quicker upon quicker until you get it exploding.
Yeah, I get that, but the thing is, it is basically it's claimed to be a perpetual exploding gas that's just pulled in through the gravity. That's what a sun is.
Right.
So how does it then eventually stop reacting and then explode away when it's constantly exploding gas? How is that even possible? If it was contained explosion,
Well,
then how at some point isn't it contained anymore?
They don't.
What?
Some just die. So some become things like red dwarfs and things like that, which is a dead sun. So it's gone through its stages too slowly and hasn't imploded. It's just become the remnants, if you will, of a star that's burnt out of all of its energy in the heliocentric model. I mean, this is all bullshit, by the way. In case anyone's listening along like this is all true, this is all just made up nonsense. But equally, you've got things like neutron stars, which are the remnants of that explosion. And that's where you get them claiming things like a teaspoon of a neutron star would weigh the same as the entire heliocentric Earth as a sphere. Crazy nonsense like that. Because of how dense it is, because of how compact it is. Once the rest has exploded out, what you're left with is this neutron star.
That's very cute, but you're not actually addressing the issue. You're talking about, oh, look, yeah, but this is after the explosion. No explosion. Oh, yeah, but the explosion. How the explosion? It was exploding all this time. How does it then, in the end, explode away from the sun?
Well, it's a
It
supernova.
makes no sense.
Well, that's called a supernova.
Yeah, but Yeah, I know it's called that, but
Yeah, what do you want? This is astronomy. I'm just giving stuff names that they've given them. They just name this stuff, don't they?
it's just exploding. Yeah, but I thought it was exploding all the time. It's gas burning and exploding and all this heat, but it didn't escape from the sun. So how does it then in the end explode and actually so now the space-time gravity bending is not holding it, but it turns into a black hole afterwards. So it is still there, but then how did that all escape in the giant explosion?
Where have you got
makes
this?
sense.
It turns into a black hole afterwards thing from? Where have you got that from?
Some of it, they can turn into a black hole.
Can they?
The point is that the gravity presumed to be there, space-time bending, is still there during that sun explosion. So how does it all get away from the sun location?
My understanding with black holes,
it was an exploding gas ball all the time.
I thought
it didn't get away.
Does it not start with something akin to a neutron star, and it's got such high gravity that it's bent so much, it's warped so much of space-time that things that get near it just get sucked in, and that as that process increases, that then becomes a black hole with event horizons where things can't escape past them. And
Yeah.
like that.
But it still doesn't address my dilemma.
It's just stories, though. They're never going to address anything because it's just made up stories about lights in the sky.
You're red herring it.
But I understand what Arwen is saying. Hello, Nathan. Hey, everyone.
Hey, Brian.
I understand what Arwen is saying. It's like they keep on missing, point A, the important bit. It's like, how does it explode out? Is that what you're asking, Arwen, when it's supposed to be all being held in?
Exactly. And it was exploding all that time, right? Just as a regular sun.
And how do they have gravity as a force and the effect known as gravity at the same time? Because that's what it would require. And a better question again.
If it was a controlled explosion all that time, how is it suddenly turned into a not controlled explosion and it all launches in all directions? Like how?
If this isn't baiting in some heliocentric expert, I don't know what will. Shout out to Tony Whitcomb, who says, a Glober in work who's a pilot and flies all the time has confirmed to me that no instruments in the cockpit account for Coriolis. Thank you for the super chat, first and foremost, Tony Whitcomb. They can't account for Coriolis in the cockpit. It's only, say it with me, only observable from a rotating body, i.e., either you on a roundabout turning, looking at the plane, seeing it seem to drift, or you on a claim to be turning Earth, turning underneath the plane to see it seem to drift. You can only observe Coriolis from the ground. It's not something that you account for in the ball. So in a National Geographic example, when they toss a ball over a roundabout and say, look, when you're on the roundabout, the ball looks like it curves. Yeah, the ball isn't going to be accounting for that, okay? And you can't account for that in the cockpit of a plane either, because it's an effect observed from the ground as you turn. That's what Coriolis is. Thank you again for the super chat, Tony.
Yes, Arwen, I assure you.
What are you assuring me?
They're not going to, Arwen.
Your volume's kind of low.
Oh. Still?
A little bit, but it's fine. You're good enough. I've got compressor on you. You're fine. The audience can hear you fine. You sound a bit thin.
Oh, okay.
You've gone from...
I can assure you...
I was going to make a racist comment, but I won't. Did I forget? No. Arwen, I can assure you that they're not going to give you a direct response. What they're going to tell you is you don't understand, and then they're just going to give you a red herring. So you should have like some ketchup or whatever you like with your fish.
Right, like what Nathan was doing. Just talking around it, explaining more around it, but not actually addressing why. Why the explosion all of a sudden?
I could just give you a story.
Some math equation.
Why explain why when I could just give you another story that leads up to an explosion occurring and then tell you about how we're related to rocks or something?
I know you're getting too good at this, Nathan.
But seriously, that's what they do. Who is it? Michelle Thaler that talks about us being related to rocks. Again, that story derives from supernovas creating all matter that we have in our physical bodies. Therefore, if that gold content that you have in your body has been born in the heart of a dying star, then we are, ipso facto, in the heliocentric model, related to rocks. That's her point, and that's why she's got that point. So you're a rock if you're a heliocentrist.
Cool. So how does it explode away from the sun again?
Outwards, all directions, very, very fast.
No, not the direct. How? How does it do that?
How?
The energy output overrides the gravitational fabric.
No.
Really?
Going
Can I
on.
see the calculation for that?
Fabric.
In the sense that a star is dying, there's more energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. It's getting a little complicated here.
And then turns it around and pushes it back out.
Yeah. Like a little machine.
It's like compressing a spring. It's gonna
Yeah, it's magic.
eventually bounce
Yeah.
back out.
You're all right.
See,
Isn't it wonderful?
We're just looking at broken cognition because this is just kind of another variation of the beginning story in the first place. So you have everything expanding at the speed of light, but then gravity is doing the exact opposite of that.
You guys
Like
sound
when,
surprised.
where, how?
Well, just admiring the stories. What's wrong with that? You like Star Wars, Neil.
No, I'm just saying you sound surprised when something sounds retarded.
Well, most of the Western world adhere to this nonsense, Neil. So, yeah, it is surprising.
Well,
Yeah.
what about this question? Wouldn't their model require matter and other things to be there before gravity?
Well, they just have nature creating it, don't they?
I heard this.
They just have nature. The Big Bang covers that. That's what Big Bang's for.
No. Well,
Yeah.
okay, my bad. Is it not no? Could you go into detail?
Yeah, everything came out of nothing. Do you want the maths for it? Divide by 0, get everything in their own existence. There you go, Big Bang.
Right,
That's what I thought. So you started with no material.
Yes,
While
and then
saying
divided.
that's
Then
what the Big
divided
Bang
nothing.
was for.
But then divided it. Start with nothing and divide that up.
Right, but you also have to look at, since nothing existed, there were no laws to govern its existence. Therefore, existence could happen from nothing.
Yeah, but gravity has to come after matter within that, because gravitational accretion happens to the matter that is already there. So gravity has to be like a step 2 within that model, and within that story, does it not? Because how could you have gravitational accretion if gravity already existed?
Wow, that didn't take long.
Unnecessary.
What Brian's essentially saying is that gravity is your god. And that is correct.
But that's what they say is, when you hear some of these MIT professors talk, that when nothing existed, like gravity was the start of everything. Like, it sounds stupid because it is stupid, but it's their stupidity.
When nothing existed, something existed. Okay.
But the something is their god, their gravity god. That is the resulting force, the underlying fabric of everything. Yeah, that is their god.
I would argue that God can't be a contradiction, since I argue that God is simply truth, just to keep it simple for everybody. And so, therefore, they can't attribute gravity to God because gravity would be the first law of thermodynamics violation after the whole situation.
Well, no, they could if gravity was their god, because then gravity would be giving you that law.
No, that's
Right.
a contradiction. You can't do that. God can't do that.
So God can't exist prior to laws?
But gravity
God can't
can.
contradict himself.
Gravity can. Because I say so.
The person that made the law can't be in existence before the law.
What I said is gravity or God can't contradict himself.
He wouldn't be.
How do you have gravitational accretion? How is that happening? Like post matter. If gravity was there pre-matter.
I'll tell you. So imagine there's nothing. There's no forces. There's no matter. We all clear? Hard concept to get. So just want to check everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Now think of gravity being there as a force. We all done?
Thank
Okay,
you,
so the
Nathan.
God,
You
so
hit that
the
on the
so
head.
the God of gravity held things and then decided he would release it a little bit and then pull back in for the creation. If you're saying it like that, then my man, I mean,
Then gravity sounds kind of tantric. Yeah, it does.
because if it pre-existed the Big Bang, I would assume that I mean, I don't even know. It's everything is held, but there's like zero. But I don't even get that. But it's held somewhere in nothingness. Nothingness is held nowhere, which is somewhere for them. And then God releases a little bit too fast because the universe is flat, and then he pulls it back in a little bit, and then boom, creation.
Sounds filthy.
Yeah, it sounds stupid.
Alrighty then. So just so people are on the same page from the audience's perspective, this often in this arena, flat earth, if you want to call it an arena, is attributed to the reason this lie exists. So if you've ever heard any flat earthers postulate that the reason we are lied to about the nature of our reality is to hide God. I know we're only giving it a kind of fleeting coverance in this particular section, but it's worth noting that this is a pretty big deal to a lot of people in this community. Now can we pray? Dear Lord, I really want a fire engine for my birthday. Amen. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Well, why don't you get the harmony together?
Didn't we already establish gravity's
Amen.
God?
No? Scientific evidence? Anybody at all?
But we already established gravity was God, right?
That's not scientific evidence.
Why would you need scientific evidence if you know gravity's God?
Well, that's what my
I
son has
don't.
been saying. It's because of God.
We
That's
assert
why
that it's their
that's
God.
why you can't explain it.
If I asked a Globey who was here now if gravity was his God, he'd say, no, of course not. We're stating it's their God.
No. But my son says the reason why people like Neil deGrasse Tyson say gravity, we don't know what it is because it's from God. And it's unexplainable.
So, but there is no God in the heliocentric model. What God? What God in their globe world? What are they talking about? What's he talking about? Is
Well,
he at
he
odds with a
believes in
Christian
God.
belief and a heliocentric belief? Because they're different religions.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. You see, they change. He believes in God, and he believes that God is responsible for the Big Bang. So, there you go.
So he's cherry picking aspects of his heliocentric faith. That's interesting.
Correct.
So a bit of this. Have you shown him maybe a few other religions? Maybe show him Judaism, or maybe you can show him a bit of the Sikh faith, and he can pick bits of that he likes. Oh, it's just like a candy bar, right? It's just a buffet.
Well, this is what you get when the ball has been taken away, and they know it. This is what they get, all kinds of responses to try and get the ball back. They'll even say, well, Earth is hollow.
Be an interesting buffet, the religion buffet. Karma looks tasty today. Allah be praised.
Well, the heliocentric religion is all-encompassing for anyone who's willing to join it. That's the beauty of it.
It's like
you
the
can believe
Borg.
that you want.
All encompassing.
Well, it's like the Borg, isn't it? My uncle's a pastor, or he was before he retired, and he was easily indoctrinated with the heliocentric religion, how it would work with his Christian faith. And Jaron's pointed this out on many of occasions in terms of his education as a Jesuit was, well, not as a Jesuit, at a Jesuit school, I should say. Careful with my words, hope he's not listening. His Jesuit education was from priests. Why are the priests teaching you heliocentrism? Well, because they're the ones who came up with it. That's why.
Oh man, I've been talking about. But there are people on the other side smart enough to know, yeah, that's true. Someone even tried to argue. They're like, oh, you're telling me that atheism as an idea or as a thought didn't exist before the 1700s? And I said, no. When I said atheists today were birthed out of theist ideas, I'm talking about the term atheism arising in the 1700s, and those atheists and the atheists today's belief in the cosmogony or the cosmology is directly tied into the theists. That's what's ironic. But they always miss the point. I don't know.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
How are they going to describe their phenomenon without R?
Well, which phenomena would that be?
Stars going behind the horizon.
You need R for that. Coriolis effect, by the way, in case anybody didn't know. Stars moving behind the horizon, Earth moving as the sun moves behind the horizon. That's Coriolis deflection. That's 15 degrees an hour drift, as it's claimed Earth turns beneath those celestial items. Likewise, the same thing is claimed by Neil deGrasse Tyson with footballs. Earth turns underneath the football to cause a deflection, assisted by Earth's rotation, as he puts it. That's Coriolis effect. Also, the claim of gyros. 15 degrees an hour deflection in a gyro. That's claimed to be Earth turning beneath the fixed frame of the gyro. That's Coriolis effect. That means Earth's turning beneath the gyro. Earth's turning beneath the football. Well, if Earth's turning beneath footballs and gyros, then Earth's turning beneath aeroplanes and hot air balloons. And we'd notice. We don't. It isn't. Earth isn't turning. The sun isn't going behind a physical geometric spheroid horizon simply because you assert we've got Coriolis effect that has no other observable effect. The stars just appear to move. Not a viable hypothesis either. Any others? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Tumbleweeds.
I've been talking to a friend about flat Earth. It was time, and she admitted to me her sister came to her about flat Earth first, and she did the typical thing. Oh, that's so dumb. That's so retarded. But then she knew I was a flat earther, and then one day, sorry, hold on.
Hey, Adam, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. Hey, Adam. So then I come along, and she knows that I'm a flat earther, and she says, I'm interested because I've been talking about how smart this guy is, and then he says he's a flat earther. So it's like, okay, I'll hear what he has to say. But I didn't unload it on her that day. I just told her I was a flat earther because That's kind of what I do, because I don't want people, I don't want people switching up on me mid game. You know what I'm saying? So I let them know up front. Anyway, so now I'm talking to her about it, and I said, okay, I'm gonna tell you the main issue. I let her watch the little 1 minute 36 second video about what the horizon is, and they thoroughly explained how, because of the Earth's dimensions, we can use this formula to get the distance to where the sky meets the ground. That would be the horizon as dictated by this formula. Wasn't my claim, it was the claim that was out there. I'm like, simple enough. She's like, okay, yeah, understand, great. Then I went to Google, typed in distance to horizon formula. I'm like, you see all that? She's like, yeah, exactly what the video said. I'm like, exactly. I'm like, okay. Then I laid out the black swan. And she said, oh. And I said, yeah. I said, everything you thought about flat earthers, start over. And she got it immediately. She's like, well, where did they come up with this 3959 number? I'm like, exactly. And that is your journey to take. I'll be out for lunch.
Well, the answer is either elevation angle measurements to Polaris for dual radii, or Al Bruni's dip angle measurement to a physical geometric sphere edge horizon. That's how they got 3959.
But they didn't get it from Al Bruni.
So the whole purpose of me bringing up this story, so at the end of all of that, she said, wait a minute. Well, then what about the Earth's core? And we got volcanoes. And I said, well, did you know that lava has nothing to do with the Earth's core? And she said, it's too much for today. I already know that you know, because you're going to pull something up. And I just, my mind can't handle it. She literally said she couldn't cognitively handle it. And this is what we got to realize sometimes. Like, they literally can't handle it. You need time to process this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like Morpheus explaining to Neo. Sometimes the mind's just too old and it can't cope with being unplugged.
That's an epic story, you know. I really like the way you said it. You're very good at laying it out.
Definitely. Giving the actual rhetoric up front so it cements in her mind what they're claiming stops her becoming an anti-flat earther.
Yeah, but people, like you said, that they need time to process it. But the people that come to this subject without processing it and start arguing with us about it, isn't that just a description of an anti-flat earther?
No, an anti-flat earther is a specific person that fights with flat earthers, i.e. disagrees with what we claim or disprove, debunk. And it doesn't matter that what they're claiming in rebuttal to us goes against the globe rhetoric. That is specifically what makes an anti-flat earther an anti-flat earther, because they're not a globe believer anymore. Otherwise, they'd believe Earth turns underneath things, like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, and as is the globe rhetoric. They'll argue for first law of thermodynamics violations like Earth and atmosphere moving together. That's very much an anti-flat Earth position, because it flies in the face of having Coriolis drift, which is what the globe claims. So an anti-flat earther, for clarity, is someone who goes against globe claims to fight with anti-flat earthers. To fight with flat earthers, sorry.
Good morning, guys.
Hello, Chocolate. Somebody in the comments summed it up. A globe earther fights within the globe rhetoric, an anti-flat earther doesn't.
But if you don't know the globe rhetoric, right? Like, because Eli took the time to lay it out for her and show her citations and make her aware of what she should be claiming, right? They don't know the rhetoric.
Yeah, but at some level, we all know this. I don't feel I don't feel like he's entrapped her or led her, only in the respect that he's given her a quick bit of revision on what she should, by basic Western world education, know anyway. So I kind of see where you're going, but I don't agree.
But no, hold on, because I was going to say QE. I've heard QE say several times you have to educate them on their own religion before you can destroy it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's what Eli is describing.
Indeed. Oh, you were agreeing then. Yeah, I commend him for it. It's perfect. That's the way to do it.
But that's what happened to me. I fought against my brother and I threw everything at him. Volcanoes, satellites, NASA. And then 2 weeks later, oh shoot, Earth is flat.
But I think quite a
beautiful trick. Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
Yeah, Brian.
just very quickly, Eli, and it's in your favor. I think what Eli did was it was like a courtroom situation. We got them to admit that is their claim and accept it as their claim, and then he took it apart.
It's called an impeachment. He's impeached them based on their original rhetoric, what's written down. Here's what's written down. Do you understand this has to be taken as read? Yes, I understand that Earth, sphere, horizon blocks boats. Do you understand that this is the distance in the maths? 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height is where your limitation will be if you think Earth is represented at the edge of a horizon blocking boats. Yes, I understand that. Right. Now that we've got you understanding what you do claim and are party to, if you think the Earth's a sphere, let's show you how it's wrong. Let's impeach this testimony of Earth being claimed to be represented at the horizon with an edge blocking boats and buildings. Here's an edge that isn't an edge. It's beyond its limitations that can physically block things. You can't have hills that get in the way of things in the distance, be behind the thing they're supposed to block. Therefore, it's not a limitation to your view. The horizon is not Earth curve.
Yep. So, in lieu of 10th Man, I would say that this case should be titled James and the Giant Peach.
My kids are having that read to them at the moment.
Anyway, yeah, so that's how I laid it out. Now, I didn't keep going. And people will want you to keep going even though they're not capable of continuing, right? You have to know when enough is enough for the day. So, and it's, I mean, because we don't get to talk about it, and as soon as you do get someone who's interested, you want to just talk for hours, and let's get a cup of coffee, let's go to the library, read some books. Now, you want to do a whole bunch, you want to do everything, tell them everything that you know. Nah. Why? Because it's not my problem. I don't have the answers for everything. I came into this with a question. Who measured it? What are we talking about, right? So the moment that she asked, where did this number come from? I said, well, you're on your journey. So she asked me other questions aside from, the volcano thing. But I said, look, at the end of the day, in order to get to that answer, you have to go through this premise.
You take the blue pill.
The Earth is a sphere with specific dimensions. So
you take the blue pill. You stay in Wonderland. You take the red pill.
Right, because ultimately she has enough information to go investigate. I am no longer the person you should be asking. You should actually be asking the authoritative people who gave you the information in the first place. That's where you should be looking. You shouldn't be looking at me.
Shout out to Tony Whitacombe, who says, I got into a fight with a flat earther. We were fighting over who's going to slap the Glober first. Thank you for the super chat.
That is legit with that feeling, what it feels like, though. It feels like offering a blue pill or a red pill. Like, once you get that first okay, especially after offering the black swan, and they say, oh, I understand. And then it's that moment, it's like, all right, so you can take this further, or you could just regress into believing whatever you want. But you've come to the understanding. One of my coworkers fought with me. He's like, nah, the Earth can't be, 4,000 miles? That's the radius? I was like, yeah. Like, nah. I was like, I mean, it's not my number, bro.
Too small, right?
Like,
hold on, just for clarity. Chocolate, too small, right? He was like, that's just too small.
Yeah, he was like, that it can't be that small. 4,000-mile radius, which means like just across, it's like about 8,000 miles. I just looked at him. He's just looking at me like I came up with this stuff.
Right.
Looking at me in disbelief, like it can't be that small. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
I was
tiny.
like, well,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Earth as a sphere is teeny tiny, stupidly small, and you should be able to see it curving.
Like,
Is
That's
that
what she said.
Guys playing it? You know what I mean?
you should have seen the look on his face, man. It was great.
We've already had the tantric Big Bang, Brian, so no need for that. Any
Oh,
evidence? Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
That little tiny radius? Nah.
Well, yeah, you take a flat plane, you measure an angle to a point of rotation in the sky, figure that along an arc, and boom, Bob's your uncle. You got a radius of the ground you're on. It's flat.
That came from a flat plate. I mean, that checks out definitely.
Just noticed there's a chat participant called Gravity, and the comment he just left that caught my attention. I'm just going to stick it up on screen. Where is it? It's gone now. Damn you. Gravity. Those balloons go so darn fast. Down go boom boom, Gravity. I think that concludes the housekeeping. Did we miss anything? I don't think we did.
It's confusing. It's a confusing thing to be a parent, considering gravity when your child's tears are going down, but their balloon is going up.
It's more confusing to be reading your kids' books that you know came out when you were a child, like James and the Giant Peach. But there we go.
I like that stuff.
It just weirds me out that it's like, wow, I remember this coming out. My God, I feel old.
Oh, it's still going on. That is kind of creepy how we learned this. Like all of the books that I've read with books that, you know, my teachers have said they read when they were children. It's kind of weird, I guess.
Right, I suppose a good story is a good story. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is always going to be good. So yeah, that's it. That's housekeeping done for the day. Where are we in time terms? We've still got a quarter of an hour left. Happy days. So we started the show, pre-show, with Neil moaning about how terrible his weekend had been because his sports team won at foosball or whatever, and his car's broken down, and generally life's not being particularly kind to Neil at the moment, it seems.
Well,
But I'll tell you what, thank God, because you're describing this whole, I'm listening as I'm working. That was my journey to Flat Earth. And thank God that there was videos out by like John the Morgile, even Jiren. I got it, even Bob Nodell. Back then I had a lot of information I can grab onto. I sat at that feast.
What feast would that be, Neil? You're not about to accuse... Oh, God.
The feast of garbage.
Feast of nonsense. Okay, that's great. Thanks for causing that offence to our fellow flat earthers. The views expressed here on Flat Earth Debate aren't necessarily representative of the host.
I was getting ready to offend other flat earthers, so I guess it's good he got the big ones first and not offend everybody else down the line, because from what I'm noticing in my Discord wanderings, I don't think people are understanding this elevation argument.
That's okay. I mean, it's part of the housekeeping now. So, 2 years down the line, John, when you're like, yeah, I don't think they're getting it. Well, all we're going to do is grow the channel. I mean, this is now a reasonably big channel. I'm getting ever closer to 25,000 people being subscribed, which I know it's not true now. But back in the day, that was the break point for getting memberships. And I was always, I really want to get to 25,000 because I really wanted to have members. I thought it was very important to the structure of the channel. And obviously, if you've only got 8,000 subscribers, you're never going to be allowed memberships. Not so anymore. But back then, and in lots of TV references, people will talk about, you being more of an influencer once you've got a subscriber base of 25,000 or more. So it's just a certain number associated with YouTube that seems to have a certain amount of significance. I don't know why. It might just be a mental impression of people who've got 25,000 people watching them. But for me, the breakpoints were 1,000, 10,000, 20,000, and 25,000, which 15 came and went without meaning anything, but 25 certainly has a special sort of ring to it. And when you get to that point, it's not that you've just got more people. It means there's more people clicking the share button. There's more people that are just disseminating it out to random Joe. So yeah, the people in our community currently may have complied, not like what they've seen, gone away, and then not stuck around to hear how the elevation angle argument works. But like with most of the housekeeping questions, when I do the rounds on, not necessarily Discord, but on YouTube videos, I do see people disseminating good renditions of older housekeeping questions in their argumentation. So I think, yeah, it's just all about repetition. The physical geometric leading edge sphere edge and the angle to it with refracted bendizontal horizons. Yeah, it's complicated stuff. You've got to listen for a reasonably significant amount of time to get all the arguments down. And I don't expect that of anybody, but if people just come at a glance and take away one or two things, that's wonderful as far as I'm concerned. And the elevation angle argument will come with time, I promise. It's a really simple argument.
No, that's fine. I was actually wanting to go into growth of your channel next, because that does. I was going to ask you if there was a correlative growth between the Black Swan to now.
No, quite the contrary. So when the Black Swan first came out, I was very pleased. Obviously, it's a good argument. But that was just before COVID hit. And then as we were talking about the Black Swan, I remember it like it was yesterday, Arwin bringing up a little cartoon of a black swan going over a waterfall. And it was a political message about COVID, about times to come, pre-lockdown. That was what happened. And the moment it did, all fringe channels on YouTube seem to go into a, metaphorical lockdown, because we've got the means to live stream and we're generally of a conspiracy ilk. Now me, I immediately, won't swear, concern myself greatly and go and look at the rules, make sure I'm not breaking any of them. As I watch people around me getting swatted off like flies by YouTube. It's like, just read the rules. What's your problem? I've lost another channel. Yeah, why? What are you talking about? Yeah, well, that's in the rules. They literally say whatever it is you shouldn't have said, you shouldn't have said it. But no, people don't look. But me, I was genuinely concerned about that. But I also knew that, well, at first, I was like, great, everyone's locked down at home. They're gonna get to see our argument. No, no, they won't. My numbers went from a peak of about 310 people watching live. They dropped to less than 100 in the space of nothing. It just obliterated my live audience the moment everyone got locked down. So they're like, whoa, okay, I'll just convince myself that everyone's just searching for the current lockdown situation daily. Well, the reality is obviously that's presented up because that's the topic at the time. And people aren't then searching for flat Earth. That's what I tell myself, know full well that the people with the ability to ruin any illusions that might be being spun at the time, they're kept very truly at the bottoms of all lists, so you can't hear their live opinion. But there we go. That's enough moanings about growth during the COVID lockdown.
Okay, so there's no way to
Did you mention that cartoon? It was a globe on top of a swan going over the waterfall?
I didn't mention that.
Just a swan.
Yeah. Do you remember it? I take it you do.
Yeah, I have it.
Can we see it? If you can stick it in Master B, I'd love to present this to the audience, because this is taken from, correct me if I'm wrong, very late 2019, correct?
Yeah, late 2019 or early 2020.
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah, exactly. But this is, this image that's about to come up is kind of like the poison symbol to me. Yeah, this is it. Let's stick this up on screen for the audience. Yeah, it's literally a globe riding a swan with a COVID cartoon-esque face on the swan. But yeah, so we had this, and then I watched my audience just disappear almost immediately after this was presented by Arwin.
and we thought it was ironic because it was like we were just talking about how the black swan is killing the globe, and then you come out with this picture like, what?
Yeah.
You serious?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We're
but
like,
you gained me.
suddenly everyone, well, not everyone, but it was being deemed and termed a black swan event. You're like, okay, the Karl Popper analogy is reasonably well known, but we've just stumbled on one of the best silver bullet globe defeats that there is, and it's still to this day, it's like 2.5 years later, whatever it is. It's top of the list, right? It's as good as it gets. And like I say, when it was just coming out, this had just, been on the show. No, it must be 2020 because the Black Swan was released 1st Jan 2020, so this must be post 2020, as in not 2019. I'm slightly too early with the date of this, although I don't know when it was created, but certainly when we had it on the show. But yeah, this came, then live audience dropped by about half, and then continued to whittle away till it dropped well below 100. So in recent times, I'm sure you've heard me whooping when it gets to over 100. Like, wow, 100 people watching because it dropped so low below that. I mean, now it's typically, about half what it was at its peak. We're now 138 people watching. It'll fluctuate up to 150 maybe. And that's normal, right? That's a normal day on Flat Earth Debate. But gone are the days of the 300 people watching, unless there's some crazy anomaly and I end up with 3,000 likes or something stupid. Yeah, please share the show. Tips on the might as well throw in a few requests for the audience's help in that regard. That's how the show's grown. Also, I should do a shout out to David Weiss. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe, he showed me an advert that he'd made, and obviously I approved. But it was with the protractor showing the angle to the sun, and how that angle is then hijacked into the ground you're standing on. Well, he did that as a little short because I periodically keep updating my little bit on his app, which is my Flat Earth Debate, basically anything under about 6-minute video. He's just given me a certain criteria that he'd like to have on the app, and I just stick within the criteria he told me. And any time a video I produce is of that particular criteria, I stick it in the dearth list, as I call it, which is a playlist that goes onto his Flat Earth, Sun, Moon and Zodiac clock app. So that he was kind of promoting, but also no comments turned on, only a link to me. So yeah, thank you very much to David Weiss for that advert, which came out a couple of days ago. Really appreciate it. I mentioned this before as well, which is to say that if you've got a Flat Earth channel and you don't despise me because I've called you a stupid fundy or something, then if you want to do an advert swap, you produce an advert that you would like to see on my channel and vice versa. I'll produce an advert and you can stick it on your channel. Hopefully there's some cross-promotion that we're missing out on as mutually inclusive Flat Earth promotion can go. So there we go. Just thought I'd give that a shout, as absolutely nobody has taken me up on the offer or even contacted me or even mentioned it. It was a suggestion from someone else to do it, by the way, so in case it seems like egregious self-promotion. Which it is. Shout out to Godzilla. Super chats, yeah. They're elusive to you. What does that mean?
They don't want to promote you, Nathan. That's the problem.
Well, we're fringe. That's our classification, so no, we won't get any promotion.
The other flat earthers, because they have little.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
more about
Hold on,
not
Owen. I want to hear
wanting
this
to
now.
seem
Hold on, Owen.
popular.
Hold on. I just got
Sorry,
on what you were saying. The other flat earthers won't want to promote me. Go ahead, Brian. What were you saying?
Yeah, they don't want to promote you because they have, let's just say, out there ideas about reality, and you call them out on that, and they don't like some of the things you state and some of the things that are stated on this show. But they like the show. But they won't promote you because then they're kind of going against a lot of the stupid nonsense that they talk about themselves. Whether it be dielectric acceleration or who knows what other nonsense they talk about. But they don't want to promote you because then they're promoting somebody who will point out all the flaws in a lot of their videos or their claims. Because that's what will happen. Anyone comes on their show comes listen to this.
Yeah, Dave Weiss is a perfect example because he's a strong personality. Let's just put it that way. He doesn't need anybody telling him what's what. He'll do what he likes. But by the same token, he still has to take a fair bit of stick for promoting me. And, you know, he's not shy about telling me that fact and critiquing me where he thinks I need to be critiqued. Because of the crap he has to endure as a result of that. But it takes a strong character like David Weiss to do something like that. A man's going to be the kind of person that says, I don't care, I like you, I want to promote you, and I will. But I won't, you know, hold back on moaning where I see fit. I'm not proposing that Dave's a big whiner or a moaner. He isn't, far from it, in fact, quite the contrary. But my point is that, yeah, it does take a strong character because there's a lot of cliquey kind of, what's the word I'm looking for in terms of the way the groups behave in Flat Earth, Brian? Cliquey is the word I'd use.
Yeah. Well,
Brian, are you saying we're the flat earthers that other flat earthers love to hate? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, exactly, Chuck. Look, what's going to be pointed out on this show, if I come in here with any lofty ideas about anything, doesn't matter if I'm on the show every day for any amount of years, the minute any nonsense comes out of my mouth, it's going to be pulled. I'm going to be pulled on it, and it's going to be questioned. You know, whether it be some belief I have or whatever. And so all these things they have, they don't get questioned on them. So if they promote Nathan and they show, they're promoting something that points out, you know, all the flaws in what they want people to believe along with them, as opposed to what's real. So this show is dangerous for those people.
Any glaring stereotype fallacies expressed here aren't necessarily the view of the host. Indeed, Brian. Indeed. But yeah, like I say, there's people out there like Dave that don't care. They're more than happy to promote what's what and what's good, as opposed to what they might upset others with. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm on the show that's classified as some people have even come and said to us is that we have too high standards. Well, I mean, if that's a bad thing, then I'll be bad. That's
yeah,
all
with
right.
the nonsense police,
I'll
aren't we?
keep my high standards and just laugh at your nonsense. How about that?
Yeah, you can't really have a better compliment. Your standards are too high. Oh yes, because that's an awful thing to have, isn't it, in a debate show?
It's terrible.
Well, I think like when SE Montreal was in here on Friday and he talked about the anti-Ethereum method or apparatus, like when he started talking about the dating of it, straight away, you were on him. You know what I mean? People were on him about, really? And how do you know that? And it's like, that kind of a thing. It's like he wasn't expecting, like that was just a throwaway comment he made about it being thousands of years. It was around thousands of years ago or before, 1,000 years before something or whatever. And straight away, it was like, really? You know, so everything is up for question. So, and like, so he wouldn't have expected that would be the comment maybe that he would have had to argue the toss about or whatever. But there you go. You know, that one simple little comment like that can just, you know, open up a whole conversation about, hang on, how do you know that for certain? What do you know about that? What do you know about the process used to come up with that claim? You know, things like that.
Right.
You know, so...
And that can be quite scary. I get it. But to be honest, I want that air of mildly intimidating to most people. I've got no issue with the show having that, you know, be the general, well, you know, you might not want to go there because you might have your ass handed to you, even if you are a flat earther. Yeah, I've got no issue with that being the general impression that people get from the show. Yeah, you do have to watch what you say here. Words are important. Words have meanings. Watch your words. Use your words carefully. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I mean, I'm not saying SC Montreal complained about it. I'm just saying, I don't know his thoughts on it. But it's a good thing, you know, because nothing is left out there as just a kind of an empty claim without backing.
Indeed. And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the thanks button, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!